too long ago when Republicans made a promise to ourselves and to the American people that before we sent another dollar, another dime, another nickel, another penny to Ukraine, we'd ensure that our own house was in order, that our own country was secure, that our own border was secure, that we would pass a real border security measure. And yet here we are, months later, preparing to dispatch nearly $100 billion. If you say it slowly, you sound a little bit like Dr. Evil in the original Austin Powers movie. $100 billion to foreign countries, while the security of our own homeland languishes. House Republicans have broken their promise, and at least a critical mass of them, under the direction of House Republican leadership, they've betrayed the American people because they've gone back completely on what we promised. Tonight, we're seeing the same movie played out on the Senate floor. Now, this occurs at a time when about 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and yet Congress continues to add to a national debt. It's about to blow past the $35 trillion mark. How then, Mr. President, can we justify this to the American people? As a Congress, are we really more concerned with the borders of a foreign country, Ukraine, and with foreign wars around the world than we are with the safety and the security of the United States and its citizens? This bill tells the American people that the answer to that question is an unambiguous, resounding yes. Congress cares more about sending billions to wage endless war in foreign countries, cares more about this than saving our own country, especially at a time when we're being invaded, when we've seen an invasion of between 8 and 13 million people over the last few years alone. That's a big deal. Now, we're forgetting the wise caution left to us by our first president, the father of our country, George Washington, who warned against entangling our peace and our prosperity with the affairs of other nations. He said, why, quote, by interweaving our destiny with that of any part of Europe, entangle our peace and prosperity in the toils of European ambition, rivalship, interest, humor, or caprice, close quote. Indeed, it seems no price is too high. No weapon system is off limits. Our only strategy appears to be spend, 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 and then spend some more with little to no thought given to the consequences. It's the continuation of a lackluster approach to the Ukraine-Russia conflict, devoid of coherent strategy while allocating the vast majority of its funding to Europe and the Middle East, neglecting, of course, the looming threats from China and the warnings from great national policy experts like Elbridge Colby, who warn us time and time again that the same weapons that we're depleting, sending to other parts of the world, sending to Ukraine, are those that are in such dire need in Taiwan and elsewhere. The $13 billion in military aid to Israel is juxtaposed with the up to $9.1 billion in civilian aid going to Hamas. Now, some would say, you mean Gaza, and I say, no, I mean Hamas. You cannot send this aid, even if it's labeled as humanitarian or for some other noble-sounding purpose. If you send it to Gaza, it is aid to Hamas. Hamas terrorists, these are the same terrorists who massacred, who butchered, who savagely mutilated innocent men, women, and children in Israel just a few months ago in October. The architects of this bill undermined their own goal to secure stability and peace in the region. And so I've come to the floor in an attempt to soften the blow to the American people. And to that end, Mr. President, I'd like to call up Lee Amendment number 1902 for consideration. My amendment would require Ukraine to repay the money loaned to it, and that the funds repaid be used to secure our border. If Congress is so determined to send taxpayer money abroad, then the repayment of this loan should not be waivable and must be used to secure our border. Now, it's sad that shoring up our border and protecting our own citizens has to come at the mercy of our debtors, but that is what this administration thinks of everyday Americans, that they don't deserve protection. We should be voting on H.R. 2, and we should be doing that today. We should be addressing the crisis at the border. Instead, we're focused on sending money to secure Ukraine's border, not our own. Now, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to set aside any pending amendments and motions in order to call up my motion to concur with amendment number 1902.
Is there objection?
Mr. President, I object.
Objection is heard.
Now, if the objection is that my proposal is somehow not germane, then I'll offer another amendment. I want to bring up Lee Amendment 1857 for consideration. It would ensure that the repayment of the loan Congress seems so determined to give Ukraine is exclusively used to pay down the U.S. national debt. This bill demands the American people dig deeper into their pockets, funding the salaries and pensions of Ukrainian officials.